Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. As always, thank you for joining us. Well, I'm back from Guantanamo Bay, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave the Ingraham Angle an inside look at where illegals are being held. We're going to bring you our exclusive coverage in moments, but first, the art of the reveal. That's the focus of tonight's angle. What a novel concept. A president who wants the government to work for, not against us, which means stop blowing our money on pointless wars and start making us money whenever possible.
We're going to be signing an agreement, which will be a very big agreement that'll be on rare earth and other things. And as you know, we're in for probably $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. And that's a big difference. It's very important to everybody. We're going to get our money back, and we're going to get a lot of money in the future. And I think that's appropriate because we have taxpayers that shouldn't be footing the bill.
He's 100% correct. This war was a catastrophe for both sides and a drain on America. And now it's time to use our leverage to make things as fair as possible for all parties, and only Trump could pull this off. And only Trump could have pulled in Elon Musk to help pull off a whole-of-government cost-cutting mission. We have no other choice.
We simply cannot sustain, as a country, a $2 trillion deficit. If we don't do this, America will go bankrupt if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it.
Well, failure simply is not an option. Thus, the president's team needs information, answers to simple questions from employees who get paid by us. Questions, really difficult ones, like, tell us what you accomplished last week. Now, other than for those employees in very sensitive jobs, I mean, this should be simple, easy, and take no time at all.
What we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive?
Oh, I love that banner. Are these people real? Are they alive? Well, it's another novel idea, though. Don't pay dead people. And speaking of people who don't have a pulse, when did Joe Biden ever, and I mean ever, coherently preside over a cabinet meeting? Well, this is how one went down.
Jill is here today. Heard that clapping. It wasn't for me.
It's time to write a new story of healthcare in this country, one where women get the answers we need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, I'd totally forgotten that, the one where Jill's reading. Story time at the cabinet meeting with Jill Biden. Well, again, the key here is knowledge. So do not underestimate how much we're learning about the systems, the intricacies of the systems that make the DC spending machine go. Remember, we pay for it, and a lot of it is broken.
Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work.
Oh, the software doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. It's the federal government. Now, remember, they're trying to find about 15% across the board savings from just fraud and waste. We all know that's just the tip of the iceberg, though, but that's a good start. Now, Musk's formula for who should stay and who should go, it's something even the most dim-witted liberals should understand.
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
And dead people can't do the job well. So, again, take them off. But that's so cruel. That's unheard of, says the Federal Employees Union. You can't cut that. Well, except it's not any of that. The legacy media, they like to ignore the fact that President Clinton actually fired 377,000 federal employees between January 93 and September of 2000. The Trump administration, again, has a goal of about 10% of the workforce, or a total of 230,000 positions cut. It has to happen, and it can't happen fast enough. And actually, when you think about it, I think 230,000 is far too few. But again, we'll take it. So this is all exciting, and it's encouraging. It makes people feel optimistic. But while we are optimistic and while we are excited, at the same time, Trump 2.0 has to be mindful. Just because Democrats are lost now, and they are lost, it doesn't mean they're going to be lost forever. So if it begins to appear that Trump's team loses its way on the America First agenda or focus, well, you risk giving an opening to Democrat populists. Now, they'll be fake populists, but nevertheless, they'll pretend. But Democrats who seize on anything that appears to put foreign workers and foreign countries, especially our adversaries, ahead of American workers and American interests.
I see so many things saying that we don't want China in this country. That's not right. We want them to invest in the United States. That's good. There's a lot of money coming in, and we'll invest in China.
Oh, okay. But China's already bought up American companies, agricultural interests, and huge swaths of land and properties, including some that we've documented here on The Angle near our military bases. But did MAGA turn out for Trump because they wanted more of that? Or they want thousands of more foreign workers here to drive down wages and opportunities for Americans? A fine line must be walked. Americans first, always, no matter what the donors want. But overall, look, this is extremely exciting. Ending wars, deporting illegals, saving money, cutting the fat, making fair trade deals, a return to common sense. So now's the time to double down on MAGA. Build out the majority. Do not give the left an inch. And that's The Angle.
A new episode of The Apprentice just dropped, and this season it takes place at the White House. The cabinet's competing to get the best results for the country. And Trump's a little busy, so he's bringing on another judge. And if you don't like him, get out.
President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise.
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here.
If you're anti-Musk, you're getting doged. But so far, Elon likes what he sees.
President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever. Literally. So, and I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country's ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Today's cabinet meeting didn't look like a typical meeting from the last 4 years. The First Lady wasn't sitting at the head of the table, and no one had to submit talking points ahead of time like they did with Biden. Last year, a source called Biden's cabinet meetings kind of an act. Joe went a whole year without one. We're a month into this administration. Every cabinet official was there, and they know what their job is.
This country has gotten bloated and fat and disgusting and incompetently run. I think we had the worst president in the history of our country. He just left office. I think he's a disgrace, what he's done to our country by allowing millions of people to come into our country like that. And all of the other things, the inflation, which he caused because of energy and stupid spending, to spend hundreds of millions, trillions and trillions of dollars on the Green New scam.
The White House is giving every secretary the same job. Cut, 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 and make Washington accountable to you. And the Secretary of Defense was the first at bat.
We're doing a complete review of every single aspect of what happened with the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan, and plan to have full accountability. It's one of the first things we announced.
I don't see big promotions in that group, and I think they're going to be largely gone. I know the man on my left. I think they're going to be largely gone.
The Pentagon's being run differently. If you screw up, you don't get a promotion. Promotions are only based on one thing: merit.
On behalf of President Donald Trump, I want to thank you for everything you do for our nation, for our republic, for the security of so many Americans who are grateful for what you do in far-off places, in the middle of the night, with a high threat level and a lot of uncertainty. I am humbled to have the opportunity to help lead you, to give advice to the Commander-in-Chief, and to make sure that when you are put in harm's way, you are given absolutely everything you need to overwhelm and destroy the enemy, hopefully to deter them, so we don't have to fight these wars.
Like any boss, you expect your team to show up with pitches. I make my staff pitch stories every day. And today's cabinet meeting was like a pitch meeting. Like, how about gold cards?
200,000 of these gold green cards is $1 trillion to pay down our debt. And that's why the president is doing it.
I've had the complaint from a lot of companies where they go out to hire people and they can't hire them out of colleges. And you know what they do? They go back to India, or they go back to the country where they came, and they open up a company, and they become billionaires. This way they have pretty much unlimited longevity. Also with the 5 million, you know, that's a path to citizenship. So that's going to be, it's sort of a green card plus, and it's a path to citizenship. We're going to call it the gold card.
The idea is if you want in, you have to invest in the American dream and pay off our debt. It's the opposite of letting unvetted illegals in and giving them a free plane ticket and a hotel room. But letting millions of mysterious foreigners buy their way into the country might be a recipe for corruption. But I'm keeping an open mind. We're still working on getting rid of people. And Tom Homan has a message for folks throwing up roadblocks. Listen.
As far as the politicians who want to push back and attack the men and women of ICE and myself, I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm out there doing what the president promised the American people we're going to do. We're out there enforcing the law without apology. We're going to keep coming. You can put all the roadblocks you want up. We're going to keep coming. For these sanctuary cities who want to push back and impede us, we'll double the man force there. We'll double worksite enforcement there. We're not going away. We're going to keep coming at them until every criminal, illegal alien gang member, every illegal alien criminal is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll be satisfied.
It's not just about keeping illegals out of the country. It's about keeping out narcotics. One tool in the toolbox to do that? Tariffs. And pay attention, because there's a new deadline.
We've lost millions of people due to fentanyl. It comes mostly from China, but it comes through Mexico and it comes through Canada. And I have to tell you that, you know, on April 2nd, I was going to do it on April 1st, but I'm a little bit superstitious, so I made it April 2nd. The tariffs go on, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I think you're going to see something that's going to be amazing. We've been taken advantage of as a country for a long period of time.
While Trump's working on trade deals, he's also working on peace deals. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is working on a beauty with Zelensky that'll secure valuable mineral rights in Ukraine. And it's this close.
My last indication was that it was very close to the finish line. We were on the, not even the 1 yard line. We were like at the half-yard line, you know, like almost like when the Eagles push the quarterback across, you know, that tush-push thing. So it's close and it's good. Look, it's a good deal. It's an important deal.
This mineral deal would make America less dependent on China, who has a monopoly on rare earths. And a peace deal drives a wedge in between China and Russia, because since the start of the war, Russia and China have forged a deeper alliance. Zelensky is reportedly coming to the White House to sign on the dotted line. But there's no chance Ukraine's getting what it really wants.
NATO you can forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started. And I think, JD, we can say that. Do you have a statement on that?
As the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the president of the United States.
Trump's really threading the needle, seeking a peace deal with a mineral kickback, while at the same time demanding our allies drop tariffs and pay more for NATO.
They don't accept our cars. They don't accept essentially our farm products. They use all sorts of reasons why not. and we accept everything of them, and we have about a $300 billion deficit with the European Union. I love the countries of Europe. I love all countries, frankly, all different, but the European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
Trump's got like 5 balls in the air here. This is about as high stakes as it gets. But if he can pull this off, we're looking at a new world order, something we haven't seen since before 1945. A major pillar of the Trump doctrine is nothing's free, overseas or at home. And you can't execute an agenda like this if everyone isn't working in perfect harmony.
The president has put together a tremendous team of people that have known each other for a long time. First of all, half of us are from Florida, so that's good. I've known Mike Waltz since his entire time in Congress. We've been working together for a long time, and we're aligned in our thinking. Steve Witkoff, who's an envoy. Steve lives in Miami. Great guy, phenomenal, very talented person, very smart. I talk to Steve 4 times a day. Talk about Pam Bondi. I've known her for 15 years. So it's just a team of people that all know each other, have been working together for a long time, and get along. And it extends to the president.
We could call this the Floridian age. Half the cabinet's from the Sunshine State. But these guys don't look ready to retire. First, Apple committed to the largest domestic investment in American history, $500 billion and 20,000 new jobs. And now Eli Lilly has a big announcement.
Today, we're announcing 4 new sites, $27 billion additional spend, bringing our total to more than $50 billion since 2020 in the U.S. So huge build out in our country, and it's to support our pipeline growth overall, but disproportionately growing in the U.S. And so here we'll be building 4 new sites. 3 are active ingredient sites, and then 1 parenteral site for the injectable medications.
It's nice to see the White House getting results after a 4-year nap. We finally have an administration that works as hard as you do.
Welcome to Hannity, and tonight a big promotion for the man that you see in this iconic photo shielding Donald Trump at that fateful rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Sean Curran is now the director of the U.S. Secret Service. He will join us for his very first cable interview tonight. But first, a brand new low for the media mob. What a shocker. Fake Jake, our old friend Tapper over at CNN, Fake News, is now publishing a new book about Joe Biden's steep cognitive decline and the cover-up that ensued. I do hope that Fake Jake remembered to write a chapter on himself. Take a look.
You are
to
no
watch somebody on stage
It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter.
No, she wasn't mocking his stutter. We were playing it before the 2020 election. We have that full exchange coming up. But let's be clear, this book is coming out well after Biden's departure from the White House. So it's kind of meaningless until the Democratic Party, of course, gave the green light to throw Joe Biden overboard. Well, Jake, along with all of his friends at Fake News, CNN, MSDNC, and the state-run legacy media mob and every other outlet in the country, you know, they covered for Joe Biden and his cognitive decline, even though it was so obvious to anyone with eyes to see. The former president was mentally inept before the 2020 election. At one point, Biden went 11 straight months without holding a single cabinet meeting, not one. And when he did finally muster the energy to convene a meeting at the White House, he quickly turned the event over to Dr. Joe Biden, who was sitting at the head of the table. Just for memory's sake, take a look.
I guess it's still morning, isn't it? Yep. And so this cabinet meeting comes at a time when we're 4 months left in the administration. And we're going to keep running through the tape because the Vice President and I are determined to keep making sure that the democracy delivers what the American people are asking for and what we provide it. It means continuing to implement the historic laws we passed. They've allowed us to invest in America, rebuild our infrastructure, and implement our historic laws. So we're grateful that Jill is here today.
Just stop and look at that. Just look at that. He was president for 4 years. How did we ever allow that to happen? At the time, few in the media mob seemed to care. They pretended this was all perfectly normal. They didn't even bat an eye when Hunter Biden started showing up at White House meetings. They never covered Joe's lies about, I never once discussed the foreign business dealings with Hunter, my brother, or anybody for that matter. We have pictures that prove that false. The people that, he gave preemptive pardons to eventually, the very same thing he said was wrong if Donald Trump ever did it. They never covered the lying about the border being secure and closed or the economy and inflation. Well, how times have changed. Now it is a 5-alarm fire in the legacy state-run media mob, all because Elon Musk, a special government employee in charge of Doge, attended Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting. And by the way, what he said was dead on accurate. And that is, we cannot sustain ourselves as a country with the debt we are taking on. Musk isn't selling access to America's adversaries while smoking crack, committing gun crimes, and he isn't clout-chasing community college teacher masquerading and demanding to be called doctor. But Musk is the world's richest man with an unprecedented track record surrounding innovation, business, success, efficiency. So maybe the media mob should be crediting President Trump for bringing Elon into the fold to save the average American that only makes $66,000 a year from having to waste their money on radical leftism abroad to the tune of tens and what will be hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. The vitriol is nonstop as President Trump, Elon Musk, the administration vilified for trying to be good stewards of your hard-earned money. Take a look.
We're spending over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing. It is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd stack them up, But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done.
De facto bankrupt. America will go bankrupt. We're robbing from our children and grandchildren. The so-called party of compassion, they obviously don't care. Today on Capitol Hill, more fun fear-mongering from elected Democrats. What a shock. Take a look.
Welcome to the Elon Musk Chainsaw Massacre, except for this remake of a classic is terrible because it's hurting real people, and its lead character, Mr. Musk, hasn't shown up in front of this committee or Congress at all.
He'd be wasting his time. You wouldn't understand it. Anyway, we're going to play the worst of the worst coming up. But while Democrats continue to whine and moan and complain, big things are happening at the White House every single minute of every day. Today, after his cabinet meeting, the president signed an executive order requiring government agencies to work with Doge to justify spending, limit travel, identify federal properties that can be sold. And meanwhile, as the southern border becomes more and more secure in record time, Trump is turning his attention to America's convoluted legal immigration system. His first move was the announcement of a brand new gold card, which will enable businesses, wealthy individuals, after they get vetted, to invest $5 million in the U.S. in exchange for a path to citizenship. By the way, this is something many, many, many countries around the world, they all have these programs in place. Places like Australia, New Zealand, other countries, a little cheaper. You want to live in the Caribbean somewhere, you can get a passport. You can buy one. The proceeds will be used to pay down the national debt. President Trump also negotiating a peace plan in Europe. And earlier this week, he successfully crafted a rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine. On Friday, President Zelensky will visit the White House to sign off on that deal. As Vice President J.D. Vance rightly pointed out, don't underestimate Trump's ability to get important things across the finish line. Maybe if the media and Democrats waited for some results, they won't sound so stupid all the time. Take a look.
As the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think that I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat And he is, of course, the diplomat in chief.
Unlike the last president, Donald Trump is working around the clock, thinking outside the box. He's thinking differently. In other words, business as usual is over. That's a good thing. And he's keeping his promises. And he wants to improve the quality of life for all of you, every American. And even to top it off today, more meetings at the White House as Trump navigates a critical budget deal that will restore fiscal sanity to the Washington swamp. Just today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced, look at this, $60 billion in savings at the State Department, on top of the estimated $65 billion in DOGE savings. And moments ago, Speaker Johnson wrapped up a meeting with Elon Musk as a budget deal is now hanging in the balance.
Got through that okay, huh? So things are changing fast these days. The swamp is being drained so quickly, we might start finding bodies from the Clinton administration. Everyone's feeling it, especially Hollywood. I mean, can you blame them? I mean, look who's on the cover of Variety, huh? Yeah. Now that's a man, huh? It's something Hollywood wishes it had more of. Men, real men. You want proof? Well, according to the rap and entertainment rag, in movies, we're seeing a cultural shift towards more sensitive male portrayals, contrasting with the political climate influenced by Donald Trump's presidency, which may push towards traditional masculine stereotypes. Translation, pussies. They just revealed what the left most fears, men emulating this guy. The rap also cites data that suggests many young men will look to Hollywood rather than real life for male role models. Right. And men will watch the WNBA to learn how to dunk a basketball. True. This is true. Young men today are often accused of being toxic. But why would they look to places like Hollywood, who lead the pack in calling them toxic? And what kind of masculine man is Hollywood offering, really? This guy? My God, if this guy was any prettier, he'd be carrying Elon Musk's baby. So guys are looking to Hollywood for men. You're going to have to go back a few decades. You know, Eastwood, Lee Marvin, Charles Bronson, Charles Nelson Riley.
Dom DeLuise.
Or you could check out the current political landscape. You'll see masculine, forceful figures like Trump, Pete Hegseth, or border czar Tom Homan taking the reins of our nation. A far cry not just from Hollywood, but what was in D.C. before. I mean, talk about a murderer's row of emasculation. These guys make the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race look like the Dirty Dozen. The point is, the last thing Hollywood wants is to endorse traditional masculinity. But Hollywood still believes it can create fiction and claim it represents reality. It's no wonder they thought they could imprint their values on politics, pushing their guilty white liberal version of reality on ours. Men could be women. The criminal is the victim, and the victim is the criminal. Trump is Hitler. Seth Rogen is funny. There's just no end to those lies. And yet they lost, and they lost big. And Hollywood can't stand that a reality TV star, someone so lowly on the entertainment totem pole, is actually in the White House. Here's actress Natasha Lyonne.
It's very weird to have like a showbiz guy in charge. Is surreal. I mean, because, well, I'm actually pretty horrified by how strategic and effective this whole thing has been.
Now, she says it's surreal, but what she really means, it's unfair. I mean, why him and not us? Don't you like us anymore? I thought we were America's royalty, not that guy. How did he get to write and star in the movie while we couldn't? You see, their outrage stems from the fact that their fictions are now treated as fictions and the real world has prevailed. So my advice to Hollywood is stick to action movies. They're popular because they're built on one thing, the hero kicking the crap out of the bad guys, period. It's what most of us want to see, justice prevailing, that there's order in the world. We don't even care if the action hero can't speak English or happens to knock up his nanny. The problem is Hollywood might be too late. Trump just cornered the action movie market in real life, and every single day he's leaving Hollywood in the dust. It makes you wonder, is Hollywood really even necessary these days? We got an action hero in the Oval Office taking on forces that have been nothing but sinister for years. Killer gangs coming over our border, government bureaucrats stealing our money, a liberal government blob that only grows larger and larger, eating anything in its way. Hollywood may not like it, but that's where the real heroes are these days. So young men out there, ignore Netflix. The real male role models are in real life. Your fathers, grandfathers, people who fought wars and went to work and kept you fed. And yes, the men running things now, trying to undo a twisted ideology that says gender is a choice, masculinity is toxic, and all achievement is aggression. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, the only man they care about these days is a guy named Oscar. And he doesn't even have a penis. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He has a license to kill and a Viagra prescription to fill. Former CIA operative and host of the President's Daily Beat podcast, Mike Baker. She's the life of the party and the death of my eardrums. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Campagno. He's broken more chairs than Chris Christie. Mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Glenn Jacobs. And she's been around so many fighters, her favorite vegetable is cauliflower ear. Host of the Outkick the Morning podcast, Charlie Arnold.
Not true.
Mike, I love the cardigan. You're kind of like a hip guidance counselor that gives you advice on your college choices while selling you weed.
Yeah, you know, what I'm doing is I'm going for a mix between Matthew McConaughey and General Waverly from White Christmas.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
That is quite a reference. I don't get it, and I should probably just move on. As a man in your early 70s, you've watched. Do you think?
So you did come up with an insult.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Do you think that we're living in a real life movie? Like, the fact is that there's nothing more interesting than what's going on in the White House.
No, absolutely. There's nothing more interesting than what's going on in the White House and, of course, overseas, right? I mean, all the that's happening around the world.
Oh, who cares about that?
Who cares about that? But look, Hollywood, as you were talking, I was reminded of that fantastic South Park episode that was making fun of Kathleen Kennedy from Disney, where Cartman was Kathleen Kennedy, and every time the Disney executives would come in and propose a new movie, like the new Bambi or something, then she would say, put a chick in it and make her gay. And that was always the answer that they had, right? And so anybody turning to Hollywood for any idea of what masculinity looks like at this point in time, right, they're lost.
Put a chick in it and make her gay is exactly what I say when I have people over my hot tub.
Sounds like things get interesting over there.
Oh, they do.
Oh, my
One day,
God.
Charlie.
Yeah, if you ever get out of the basement. Then.
Yes. Emily, do you agree that male Hollywood role models are failing men?
Yes, I do, because Hollywood always sort of represented the created, the machinated fantasy. And the whole point, and the whole point is that they were manufacturing fantasy that guys wanted, that they wanted to look up to, right? So whether it was superhero men, escapism during the Depression, hot, gorgeous, amazing women, but now the fantasy, instead of being what women and men want, is literally the opposite of reality in this perverse, disgusting way. I mean, look at it. We've had an epidemic of eunuchs, thanks to Hollywood stamping and essentially elevating like all the beta males that would have been in movies, the friend zone ones. All of a sudden, those are the leading characters.
The friend zone ones.
Exactly. I don't want to see the androgynous, nubile, super nice, like good at math dork be the leading character. Not at all, right? You want He-Man to be.
You want Lee Marvin.
Yeah.
You want James Coburn.
Yes, Charles Nelson Riley.
Younger. Little younger. But yeah, exactly. So I think the reality, to your point, is that now Hollywood is sort of representing a total nightmare instead of an amazing fantasy. And then the amazing fantasy that when you want your role models, it's people that have served their country in a masculine way rather than. And also, I will say this, that I think this emphasizes the importance of the home too. Because when these kids go to these movies and they see like, hey, Dad, this person with boobs and a bulge, like, is that the right man? That's why the fathers need to say, here, son, this is your role model, and it starts here.
Boobs and a bulge.
I don't know. I was trying to be G-rated.
There's a bar like that downtown, Glenn. Not gonna go. Yo, I haven't talked to you. I don't think I've talked to you since the election. And don't you find it such a weird contrast that I don't think I've ever lived in a political time like this where there's like something happening every single day, and I feel like I'm in the third act of a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a trilogy where the bad guy, the good guy makes his appearance, then the bad guy comes back, and then the good guy comes through at the end.
Exactly. The first act, 2016, second act, 2020.
Right. That's right. For the record, I would like to say, though, that real men do wear spandex. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah, they do.
Unfortunately, sometimes...
honest to God, I'm wearing some now.
Yeah. Sometimes Joy Behar does as well, though. I'm sorry for that terrible visual for everybody. But you guys are exactly right. Hollywood wants to distract from Trump because they want weak men and women. They want people who are dependent. They want people who are compliant. They're wolves that want us to all be sheep, and their worst nightmare is an alpha sheepdog like Donald Trump and the people of his administration, because they remind Americans of what this country really is and who we really are.
Yeah, you know. I love it when they applaud my next question. So nice. Charlie, it's pretty funny. Are you aware that there is a movie out about Trump? It's called The Apprentice, and it's up for like Oscars. So it's totally anti-Trump. The director just got Me Too'd.
Yeah,
he did.
Yes, I mean it's like the world is being scripted so that the guy who writes and directs a damning movie about Trump,
the irony,
ends up getting Me Too'd, and then Trump becomes president. It's perfect.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that the left is made up of a bunch of frauds, right? We know Hollywood is a bunch of frauds, so it doesn't actually surprise me at all that, of course, the director of this movie, the way he's trying to portray Trump, it actually is being reflected upon himself. I mean, Hollywood is being run by the woke left, specifically woke feminists who despise men and everything that they traditionally stand for. They call it toxic masculinity, but really it's just like assertive, dominant, strong protectors that we all like really appreciate in men. And it's disgusting to see, because when we see the pivot and what Hollywood's trying to do now, like look who just got signed to one of the biggest talent agencies. Joe Biden now has a talent agent. Kamala Harris now has a talent agent. Good question. That's a great question.
It's not breathing.
No.
I have no idea. And then also, it's not a man, but it's a black bisexual woman, Cynthia Erivo. She was the one who started Wicked. She's now being cast as Jesus Christ in the new production of Jesus Christ Super. Yes.
Hold on. I'm going to wait to see the trailer.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, listen, they're the last people we should be looking to for normalcy. Like, we want to bring back the Terminator. We want to bring back Rocky. We want to do away with the Noodle Boys, which everyone's probably like, what's Noodle Boys? Timothy Chalamet, that little skinny twerp you put on our screen, that who they're now saying is like the new, like, oh, he's the masculine, like, identity. I think, Emily, you probably can agree with me here. We want our men to have just like a slightly higher body fat
Not a
percentage
noodle.
than we do.
Yeah, something other than a noodle. My biggest concern is they're searching for the new James Bond.
Yeah.
And what the are they going to do with it? Yeah.
Greg.
You've aged out, Mike. You've aged out.
Yeah, I could be James Bond's dad.
Yeah. I think, Rachel Maddow. She has the hair. Beautiful hair.